It happened fast, too fast. One minute everything seemed normal, the next panic, real panic. Reports began circulating almost immediately. Cardi B had been rushed to the hospital following another asthma attack. But this time, insiders say, it was serious, dangerous enough to trigger immediate action from those around her. Not the kind of episode you can brush off or recover from quickly. Not the kind where a simple inhaler suffices. This was the kind that forces people to act without hesitation. What made it worse was that it wasn't the first time. Cardi B has been open about her asthma struggles for years. She's joked about it, warned fans, referenced it in interviews, even paused performances when symptoms flared. Fans familiar with her journey knew how unpredictable and aggressive the condition could be. Yet, according to insiders, this episode carried a different energy, one that set off alarms immediately. There were no warning signs, no build-up, just a sudden, terrifying shift. In situations like this, there's no time to wait. No time to wonder if it's minor. You react instantly, and that's exactly what happened. Those present reportedly sprang into motion. Friends, staff, team members, everyone coordinating in real time. The internet reacted almost simultaneously, erupting in posts and queries. Is she okay? What happened? Was it triggered by stress? Was this part of something bigger? Fans scanned every clip, every story, desperate for confirmation. What made people most nervous, sources say, was that this attack appeared to require more immediate medical intervention than usual. And yet, no official confirmation arrived. No statement, no detailed update, just fragments, reactions, and the deafening silence of people close to her choosing not to speak. In moments like these, silence amplifies concern. The absence of information doesn't calm, it ignites speculation. Every minute without clarity felt longer than the last, every rumor magnified by uncertainty. Asthma has always been a serious factor in Cardi B's life. It's not new, and it's not something she acquired recently. It has shadowed her career quietly at times, openly at others. Those who have followed her closely have seen the signs: abrupt pauses during performances, interviews where she confessed struggling to breathe, clips where she laughed off what was clearly frighteningly real. The condition doesn't follow schedules. It doesn't care about a packed calendar, a sold-out tour, a recording session, or a red carpet appearance. When it hits hard. For someone like Cardi B, whose life is high-intensity, relentless, and public, asthma is inherently more dangerous. Long flights, late nights, high-energy performances, endless press obligations. The cumulative stress on the body is significant, even invisible. According to those with knowledge of her routine, the past weeks have been especially taxing. Back-to-back commitments, minimal rest, constant movement, conditions ripe for complications. And then there are the triggers. Dust, smoke, stress, even environmental changes can ignite an attack. The most frightening part, often you don't realize the trigger until the attack is underway. Imagine that moment. Everything seems fine, then suddenly you can't breathe. Your chest tightens. Each inhale is more labored than the last. For someone under constant observation and pressure, surrounded by cameras and staff, the panic compounds the danger. This was not a gradual decline. Insiders insist it was sudden, a hallmark of severe attacks. In these moments, preparation is impossible. You can only react. And that's what her team did. Every second mattered. Friends, assistants, and staff acted decisively, balancing urgency with composure. According to whispers circulating online, those first moments were more intense than anyone anticipated. Traditionally, treatments, an inhaler, fresh air, calm, have worked for Cardi. This time, they did not. The energy shifted quickly as the reality became clear. This attack required immediate medical care. The decision to get her to a hospital was made without delay. And once that decision was made, everything moved fast. No one hesitated. Calls were made ahead to ensure emergency teams were ready. Staff cleared paths. Cars moved swiftly. Every step was coordinated, urgent, precise. But even in this orchestrated rush, things escalated. Insiders say her condition worsened slightly during transit, not dramatically, but enough to make those around her fear for the worst. The usual reassurance, stabilizing, calming, and monitoring, was not enough. Once at the hospital, the pace intensified. Immediate attention was given, equipment readied, oxygen supplied. Doors opened. Staff moved with practiced urgency. In that environment, panic was replaced by focus, a singular concentration that emerges only when the stakes are life and death. Cardi's breathing, although supported, did not stabilize as quickly as expected. Every S. Econ stretched, heavy with concern. Inside the hospital, those initial minutes were critical. Rapid assessment, continuous monitoring, oxygen support, all happened simultaneously. Normally, with the right treatment, asthma attacks begin to ease quickly. This time, she did not respond immediately, and that delay, though brief, was enough to unsettle everyone present. For a short period, uncertainty hung thick in the air. Would she stabilize? Would additional intervention be required? Those moments amplified fear. Outside, the world had no information. No updates, no social media posts, nothing. And as silence continued, speculation exploded online. Posts trickled out, concerned fans noting the absence of updates, questioning if Cardi was okay. Anxiety spread faster than facts. Her history, known to millions, amplified the panic. When someone with severe asthma is rushed to a hospital, it's not trivial, it's serious. According to multiple sources, the hospital response matched the severity. No waiting, no hesitation, Cardi was moved immediately into care. Oxygen levels were stabilized, vital signs checked, rapid interventions applied. The room was tense, not chaotic, a precision kind of tension where everyone knew that nothing could be left to chance. And for a time, stabilization was not immediate. She did not respond as quickly as expected, and that uncertainty is what fans feared most. This situation illuminated a harsh truth about asthma. It is unpredictable and unforgiving. A patient can be fine one moment and the next be in critical danger. For someone in Cardi's high-pressure, high-visibility lifestyle, that danger is compounded exponentially. Those close to her maintained focus, acting with urgency and expertise. Every decision was measured, every second critical. The team prioritized her airway, circulation, and breathing, knowing that minutes could determine outcomes. Her fans, meanwhile, could only watch the emerging chaos from afar, piecing together information from leaks, rumors, and fragments. Anxiety grew with every passing update, or lack thereof. Finally, as the first wave of treatment began to take effect, breathing slightly stabilized, but the tension remained. The moment underscored just how serious the episode had been. It was not merely a minor flare-up, but an event that demanded immediate, high-level medical intervention. The combination of Cardi's condition, her environment, and the sudden onset made this incident frightening, even for those familiar with her asthma history. In retrospect, every detail magnified the intensity. The sudden collapse, the initial ineffectiveness of routine measures, the rapid mobilization of emergency services, the careful attention of the hospital team. And while no official statement was released at first, insiders and trusted sources confirmed that her condition required immediate, hands-on medical care. Fans continued to speculate, scanning social media for clues. Every story, every post, every silence was interpreted as a sign of severity. Cardi's transparency in the past, juxtaposed with the silence surrounding this episode, heightened concern. People remembered previous incidents where her health had briefly forced cancellations or delays, but this felt different. It carried urgency, gravity, uncertainty. By the time news began to stabilize, the situation had already dominated headlines. Cardi's team, protective but diligent, ensured she received the best care possible. Fans, though panicked, understood that medical professionals were handling the crisis. But the episode served as a stark reminder. Asthma is not trivial. It is sudden, dangerous, and relentless. And when someone like Cardi B, who lives at a relentless pace, experiences an attack, the stakes are amplified. Throughout, the narrative remained consistent. The attack was sudden, intense, and required immediate intervention. Her history of asthma made it all the more concerning. The reaction from staff, friends, and family was swift and professional, and the world waited collectively for reassurance. monitoring the situation in real time through fragments, whispers, and fleeting updates. Moments like this, insiders emphasize, define the seriousness of a chronic condition. It's one thing to manage asthma with preparation, routine, and awareness. It's another to confront a sudden, unmanageable attack that tests even the most experienced caregivers. And in those first crucial minutes, every decision matters. Every breath, every intervention, every movement is vital. Ultimately, the incident showcased the fragility of health even amid fame, wealth, and access to top-tier resources. Cardi B's team acted decisively. Her hospital staff responded with precision, and the public, anxious, concerned, and informed by history, watched the unfolding crisis with bated breath. The episode, though terrifying, also highlighted resilience, professional readiness, quick thinking, and a community of care. T stepped in when seconds counted. As information continues to filter out, one thing is clear. This asthma attack was more serious than most of her previous episodes. Its sudden onset, resistance to initial treatment, and immediate escalation required urgent action. Fans can only hope for a full recovery, while the narrative reminds everyone that chronic illnesses, even in the world of celebrities, are unpredictable and must always be respected. It was a moment that felt almost suspended in time. A room filled with people, all alert, all tense, yet unsure how serious things had become. They were circling, waiting, watching, trying to read expressions, gestures, anything that might hint at what was happening. Because in moments like these, when someone's health suddenly turns urgent, silence is deafening. Every pause, every unspoken word, every slight shift of a body carries weight. It amplifies anxiety. And this was exactly the environment around Cardi B that night. Sources close to the situation described it as a scene of focused intensity, not chaos, but a charged quiet where everyone's attention was fixed on her. Every movement, every breath mattered. There was no casual chatter, no small talk, just observation, assessment, anticipation. In that kind of silence, people instinctively try to read each other, trying to glean clarity when none is offered. But there was none. All anyone could do was wait. Wait and hope that the next breath would be easier, that the next minute wouldn't bring escalation. Then came the shocking revelation. The doctors attending to her had to take extra precautionary steps, not because her condition had spiraled entirely out of control, but because they refused to take even the smallest risk. In a situation like this, precaution is everything, and the decision to implement them tells you volumes about the intensity in that moment. Those small measures, the extra monitoring, the additional checks, they were all signs that while Cardi B was receiving immediate care, the stakes were high, the uncertainty palpable. And then the outside world caught up. In the age of instant information, news traveled fast. Cardi B rushed to the hospital. Asthma attack reported. Within moments, social media erupted. Fans everywhere began to panic. Timelines flooded with posts, messages, and tags. Is she okay? What's happening? Anyone hear updates? The digital world reacted almost simultaneously with the reality inside the hospital. And yet, the lack of an official statement intensified the uncertainty. Every unanswered question magnified anxiety. Every second of silence felt monumental. It was during this stretch, the longest of silence, that a shift began to occur. Slowly at first, then more clearly, insiders began sharing fragments of information. "She's stabilizing," the messages read. And that single word changed the atmosphere dramatically. Stabilizing does not mean perfect. It does not mean all is well. It simply signals that control is returning, that the immediate escalation is no longer spiraling out of anyone's hands. For fans, that was enough to transform panic into cautious relief, the first glimmer of hope after hours of anxiety. Yet even as relief began to spread, details emerged that prompted reflection. Sources were careful to note that although she was stabilizing, this episode had been unusually intense. Stronger than most previous attacks, more difficult to manage, requiring intervention and observation beyond the norm. Fans began asking questions, not accusatory, not judgmental, but genuine. Why did this hit so hard this time? Was it exhaustion, stress, environmental factors, or a combination of elements not fully understood yet? The curiosity was natural. People cared. It wasn't merely about entertainment or celebrity gossip. It was concern for her life and well-being. And as the conversation evolved, another layer began to surface quietly. This was not just a moment of fear. It might be a catalyst for change. Behind closed doors, discussions were reportedly beginning about adjustments to her schedule, her workload, and her overall management. Moments like this, especially in high-intensity careers, force serious evaluation. It's a wake-up call. If the whispers are true, then this episode was more than a scare. It was a pivotal turning point, a moment demanding that decisions be reconsidered. The impact on fans was immediate and profound. While some finally exhaled, relieved to hear she was stabilizing, others remained vigilant, anxious, unwilling to let their guard down until they knew every detail. Within minutes, Cardi B was trending across social media, not for a new music release, not for drama, but for something profoundly real. Something that reminded millions that fame does not shield anyone from vulnerability. Her health became a public concern, a unifying point where the usual debates and arguments vanished, replaced by collective care. The response was almost universal. Fans flooded timelines with messages of hope, prayers for Cardi, "Stay strong, we love you." In moments like these, social media transforms from a platform of entertainment into a space of human connection, where the usual banter falls away and empathy takes its place. The tone shifted, the jokes paused, and people simply cared. Even the industry reacted. Artists, influencers, and individuals who usually remain quiet on such matters began posting messages, not long explanations, not detailed reports, but brief, sincere expressions of concern, support, respect, recognition of fragility in a world that often feels invincible. Some of the heaviest reactions came from figures whose silence usually speaks volumes. And when these individuals finally break that silence, the words carry extra weight. It's a reminder to everyone watching that in moments of crisis, some truths transcend the usual professional or social boundaries. Questions naturally arose, but not from critics. Fans, genuinely concerned, began discussing what changes might be necessary. Was her schedule too demanding? Was she overworking? Did she need to slow down, rest more, or adjust routines? People who cared for her well-being, not just her output, started forming a dialogue about long-term sustainability in the face of a condition that can escalate suddenly. Media outlets quickly picked up the story, amplifying every detail. Headlines began appearing. Cardi B hospitalized after asthma scare. Fans rally around Cardi B following health emergency. Concerns rise over artists' schedule and well-being. Each story added structure and context to what was initially a chaotic spread of information. But with media coverage, the situation also intensified. Analysis, speculation, and expert commentary filled airwaves and feeds alike. Yet even with the stabilization updates, no official full statement emerged. There were no detailed explanations or breakdowns of the incident. That lack of clarity kept the conversation alive, fueling discussion. People wanted more than reassurance. They wanted understanding. What triggered the attack? How severe was it? What were the implications for her future? Until those questions were answered, curiosity and concern remained intertwined. Amid all this, a quiet realization emerged. This could have been far worse. The immediacy of response, the precautions taken, the observation that extended beyond standard protocols, these details reminded everyone of the severity. Relief became tempered by reflection. Fans and observers alike considered the fragility of health, the unpredictability of asthma, and the pressures of an intense career that can leave even the most prepared vulnerable. Reports began to circulate about possible changes that this incident might provoke. Adjustments in scheduling, more careful attention to rest and recovery, restructured commitments, all intended to prevent a recurrence. If these whispers are accurate, this night was more than a single scare. It was a moment that could reshape her professional and personal life moving forward. Even as the online panic subsided slightly, attention remained fixed on the smallest details. Sources indicated that Cardi B had been kept under observation longer than expected. While stabilizing, her condition warranted continued monitoring, a precaution underscoring that the risk was real, even if immediate danger had passed. For the public, this was a reminder that even brief crises can have lasting implications, and that careful attention, even after the apparent worst is over, is critical. Fans and observers began piecing together a timeline. The initial attack, the urgent measures taken by those around her, the rapid transit to the hospital, the immediate response upon arrival, and the stabilization phase that followed. Each segment illustrated a narrative of quick action, competence, and a community ready to respond. The story was one of survival and vigilance, emphasizing that in moments of sudden health crises, every decision, every second is crucial. Social media, as always, mirrored the complexity of the situation. Supportive messages flowed in, interspersed with questions, speculation, and concern. Fans reflected on her past struggles with asthma, comparing them with this episode, trying to understand why this attack had been stronger, why it had required extended observation. They discussed triggers, lifestyle choices, and the pressures inherent in a high-profile career. The conversation was as much about learning and awareness as it was about empathy. Insiders continued to emphasize the significance of precautionary measures taken by medical staff. While not dramatic, these steps indicated an acute awareness of how quickly asthma can escalate. Continuous monitoring, additional assessments, and extended observation are all routine in situations where medical professionals aim to mitigate risk before it turns into crisis. In Cardi B's case, every measure was taken to ensure safety, reflecting both the seriousness of the attack and the commitment of her care team. Through it all, one truth emerged clearly. Asthma, while common, is not predictable. It can be manageable with preparation, but in moments of acute flare, it is sudden, dangerous, and uncompromising. When it occurs in the life of someone whose schedule is relentless, whose physical and emotional stressors are constant, and whose health cannot afford delays in care, the stakes are exponentially higher. Cardi B's experience served as a vivid illustration of this reality. As news coverage stabilized, social media settled into a rhythm of cautious optimism. Messages of support remained, speculation continued, and the public collectively reflected on the incident. Fans acknowledged the relief of stabilization while contemplating the gravity of what could have occurred. They recognized that even a routine episode in the wrong circumstances could have been catastrophic. Medical experts weighing in highlighted the importance of immediate action, monitoring, and preventive measures. The consensus was clear. Rapid intervention, vigilance, and precaution are critical. Cardi B's team exemplified best practices in crisis response, quick recognition, immediate action, and coordinated hospital care. The outcome, while positive, underscored the need for continued awareness of chronic conditions, especially in high-stress professions. By the end of the night, the situation began to calm, but the narrative was far from over. Conversations shifted from fear to reflection, from panic to planning. Questions remained. How would this incident reshape her schedule, her commitments, her approach to health? What changes would be implemented to minimize risk? These were serious considerations, emphasizing that moments like this, though frightening, can serve as catalysts for meaningful change. Even with stabilization, observation continued. Every update mattered. Fans remained engaged, eager for official statements but patient in recognition of the process. Experts reiterated that recovery is multifaceted, requiring ongoing assessment and cautious reintroduction to routines. For Cardi B, this episode may be a pivotal moment, not only in her personal health management but in the broader narrative of how celebrities navigate chronic conditions under public scrutiny. Ultimately, what began as a sudden, terrifying incident evolved into a story of vigilance, support, and collective concern. The rapid response of her team, the precise actions of medical staff, and the genuine care from fans and the public alike highlighted the interplay of health, fame, and humanity. It was a reminder that behind every headline, every social media trend, and every celebrity persona is a person whose well-being is both fragile and precious. Moments like this reverberate far beyond the immediate incident. They spark reflection, conversation, and change. For Cardi B, this asthma episode was more than a health scare. It was a wake-up call, a turning point, a reminder of vulnerability and the power of preparation. Fans, insiders, and the public witnessed a rare intersection of urgency, expertise, and compassion. And the lessons extend beyond a single individual to anyone navigating the pressures of high-stakes life while managing chronic conditions. In the end, the narrative leaves one inescapable truth. Life, health, and well-being are unpredictable. Quick decisions, immediate care, and sustained observation are what make the difference between crisis and recovery. And in Cardi B's case, the story serves both as caution and inspiration, a vivid illustration of how vigilance, support, and timely action can transform fear into hope. Insiders suggest that this moment could precipitate real change, not minor adjustments but significant ones. Changes to her schedule, to how often she performs, to the overall management of her health moving forward. Every step she takes, every commitment she accepts could be reconsidered. If these changes take place, what the public witnessed wasn't merely an incident, it was a turning point. This is the kind of moment that forces reflection not just on those involved, but on everyone watching. It invites questions about lifestyle, expectations, and the pressures that come with fame and demanding careers. Yet even as relief began to settle in, there remained an unanswered question that gnawed at everyone. What triggered the attack? Was it exhaustion, stress, the environment, or some deeper factor that hadn't yet been revealed? The answer is crucial because without understanding the cause, the risk remains. Fans, loved ones, and observers alike are left in suspense, waiting for clarity, trying to piece together what happened and why. Until that moment arrives, the story cannot be considered closed, and the tension remains palpable. As the hours passed, another subtle but powerful detail began to surface. Reports suggest that Cardi might soon speak directly to her fans. Not a brief post, not a quick status update, but something more substantial. A statement in her own words explaining what had occurred. If this comes to pass, everything changes again. Hearing it from her personally could either provide closure, offering reassurance and calm, or reveal details that no one had anticipated, reshaping public perception and concern in an instant. And so the audience continues to watch, to wait, to hope. They hope this was a singular scare, an isolated incident that won't repeat. But they are aware, now more than ever, that nothing is guaranteed. Moments like this linger. They don't end neatly, they don't resolve fully without clarity, and they demand reflection. Fans are engaged not just as spectators, but as participants in a collective vigil, a shared experience of concern and empathy. Even as stabilization continued, observation extended beyond what might be considered typical. Each step of the way, medical staff ensured that Cardi's condition remained under control. It wasn't a rush to discharge, a procedural tick box. It was careful, deliberate attention to her well-being. The team understood that asthma is unpredictable, that even someone with experience managing the condition can face sudden, severe complications, and that vigilance is the difference between a temporary scare and a crisis. Meanwhile, discussions began to ripple through social media. Fans, aware of her condition and concerned for her health, debated what this meant for her lifestyle. Was she overworking? Was she taking on too much, pushing herself beyond reasonable limits? Or was this truly an unavoidable incident, a moment dictated by the unpredictable nature of her condition? These conversations were not about criticism, but about care, an acknowledgement that even stars are human and vulnerable. The narrative began to take shape in public consciousness. The rapid escalation of the asthma attack, the careful intervention by medical staff, the prolonged observation, and the stabilizing outcome. Each element reinforced the seriousness of the incident, highlighting the necessity of careful, deliberate medical intervention and the fragility of health, no matter one's status or lifestyle. Experts began weighing in, emphasizing the unpredictability of asthma and the importance of preventive care. Their commentary served to educate and reassure. Quick recognition, immediate treatment, and close monitoring are essential in preventing minor episodes from becoming life-threatening. In Cardi's case, these measures were implemented flawlessly, illustrating the effectiveness of preparedness, medical expertise, and careful observation. Even as some fans began to feel relief, there remained a sense of watchfulness. Until official statements were released and all details clarified, speculation and curiosity would persist. The community's concern wasn't merely reactionary, it was protective. The shared experience of waiting, of hoping, of acknowledging vulnerability brought fans together in a rare moment of collective empathy. And then came whispers that suggested something more fundamental might change. Adjustments to Cardi's schedule, performance commitments, and overall health management. These were not small tweaks, they were potential life-altering decisions. If implemented, this incident would become a turning point, a catalyst for structural change in her life and career. Fans, while concerned, also recognized the potential for positive outcomes, a shift towards sustainable practices and greater attention to health and well-being. This led to a broader dialogue, one that went beyond the immediate incident. It wasn't just about what happened, it was about what needs to change. The conversation touched on her schedule, her lifestyle, the pressures she faces, and the expectations placed upon her. Moments like this force reflection, not only for those involved but for everyone observing. They raise awareness about the hidden costs of fame and success, the physical, emotional, and mental tolls that are often invisible until a crisis occurs. The situation intensified further when media outlets picked up the story. Headlines quickly began forming. Cardi B hospitalized after asthma scare. Fans rally around Cardi B following health emergency. Concerns rise over artist's schedule. Once the media became involved, the narrative expanded, taking on more structure, more analysis, and at times more intensity. Every article, every segment, every update contributed to a growing understanding that this was not a minor episode. Even as stabilization continued, the public remained on edge. Cardi B had not yet issued a full official statement, and no detailed explanation had emerged about the circumstances or severity of the incident. That absence of clarity kept fans engaged, waiting and analyzing every snippet of information. In situations like this, people don't just want to hear that she's okay. They want to understand what caused the attack, how serious it was, and what steps are being taken to prevent a recurrence. Until those answers arrive, the story remains alive, dynamic, and deeply personal for her supporters. Amid the concern and speculation, one thought repeatedly surfaced: this could have been worse. That realization transformed relief into reflection. Fans began to think beyond the immediate fear, recognizing the fragility of life and the necessity of careful management of health and well-being. The incident was no longer a simple scare. It was a moment that provoked thought, awareness, and a collective sense of responsibility. Then came another quiet but powerful detail. This episode might actually lead to real, lasting change in how Cardi B manages her career and health. Insiders suggested that adjustments could be coming, changes to her performance schedule, the frequency of her public appearances, and her overall approach to maintaining her health. If these changes occur, the incident ceases to be just a health scare. It becomes a turning point, a catalyst for ensuring longevity and well-being in her life and career. As fans began to process this, the final detail emerged from hospital whispers that shifted the entire tone of the situation. Cardi B had not simply been treated and sent home. She was kept under observation longer than expected. For those familiar with routine asthma care, this stood out immediately. Typically, an asthma episode is handled efficiently. Treat, stabilize, monitor briefly, and release. The extended observation suggested something more serious, or at least something that required extreme caution. Medical professionals didn't want to take chances. They were ensuring that she was fully stabilized, that there were no hidden complications, no risks of relapse, and no chance that the episode could escalate again unexpectedly. This level of care and vigilance made it clear that the incident was significant. It wasn't just a fleeting health scare that could be quickly dismissed. It was a situation that demanded attention, reflection, and careful management. Fans, now aware of the extended observation, began to understand the seriousness of what had transpired and why medical teams had been so meticulous. In the hours following the incident, questions lingered. What triggered this episode? Was it stress, exhaustion, environmental factors, or something deeper that hadn't yet been revealed? Until those answers emerged, uncertainty persisted. Fans and the public remained vigilant, waiting for clarification, hoping for transparency, and reflecting on the broader implications for her health and lifestyle. Through all this, one thing became undeniable. This episode was more than a scare. It was a wake-up call. It reminded everyone, from fans to industry professionals, that even icons with demanding careers have limits, that health cannot be taken for granted, and that moments of crisis can serve as turning points for better self-care and sustainability. Cardi B's experience has sparked reflection, conversation, and concern, showing the world that true support is not just about entertainment, but about care, empathy, and understanding the human behind the celebrity.